What's going on, YouTube friends? It's been a while. I think I'm up to a solid 45 subscribers, so I appreciate that my base of support is growing. Appreciate each and every one of you. Some of you I know who you are, some of you I don't, but just aiming to put more content together that you guys care about watching. So I'm back at my local range today. I've got another certification course coming up. Last one I was doing was NRA pistol instructor certification, which I was able to pass with flying colors. And in order to expand my suite of services that I offer at okarmorer, I'm also going through my rifle instructor certification as well. And part of that is a qualification, shooting qualification portion in which they have you shoot 5 rounds at 25 yards, and you have to get them within about a 4-inch, 4.25-inch grouping on a bench, supported and then unsupported. I feel pretty solid with my rifle skills supported and on a bench. And what I'm here today to do is confirm those beliefs that I'm, decent there, and then also see what I'm doing unsupported wise, because I think that's my weakest area. And so we'll play around with it, a couple different postures and whatnot, to see what my groupings look like. And kind of neat, the rifle that I'll be using is the very first rifle that I ever received as a gift from my father. I want to say I was 12, 13 years old. It's a Bolt Action Marlin, little 22, that I used for quite a while, and then he ended up having it for quite some time. He lives in a different state than I do, and he actually put a little no-name brand scope on it. It's a 39x50, I believe, that I recently got that rifle back and thought it'd be really neat and symbolic to qualify for this NRA instructor in rifle with the first rifle I ever received, and you're allowed to use 22 long rifle, and so why not? I haven't shot this since he put his scope on there and whatnot, and so what I'm here today to do is make sure that everything is zeroed and good to go for 25 yards for the qualification, but then also make sure that I'm not going to make a fool of myself, which with all these other shooting aficionados, if you will, and not pass first time around. So you're about to see me jump in here. I kind of limit the amount of footage that I shoot on the range, just because I feel like it's kind of boring to watch somebody else putting stuff down range. But really, trying to, I've got a bore sighter with me, so I'm going to play around with that a little bit too, make sure everything's locked in, put some rounds down range, and see how we do. this on my unsupported off the bench. That is not going to do it. Those 3 in the 9 ring would have been fine, or 4, but that one on the 7 is going to be way outside the 4.5 inches. So I know what I need to practice. Turning my body to the side, providing a lot more support for my arm to be able to get a much better grouping. Obviously still need more practice, but that will help me qualify. So bench, 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 first wanted to wait till I was back at my shop to recap with you. Always feels a little weird trying to talk while you're at the indoor range, while people are shooting around you, that sort of stuff. And I apologize for not being able to get a little bit better footage. I try not to be that guy that has his tripod out in the middle of the aisle. If you guys have ever been to the gym and seen people trying to film themselves and stuff, I always kind of roll my eyes. It's kind of a pain in the butt. And so I don't want to be that guy at the range, but what I wanted to show you was one of my lessons learned today. One, way better supported and bench shooter than I am unsupported, which I guess makes sense, right? Unsupported, you have a lot more, let's say, user error possible than if you're supported on a bench or using some other, object to support your firearm. But let me show you what I was working with today. So this is, let me show you, this is clear, no magazine, anything like that. Because I will be sweeping the camera with the barrel, showing you something here, but this is the first rifle that I ever received, so it's got a little special place in my heart. I can tell you one of the lessons that I learned today was that I'm not a fan of this scope. I can say my father's a frugal gentleman. This does not have any sort of brand name on it, and so I'm assuming he bought it, as inexpensively as possible off of Amazon or something like that. And I can just tell you that it works great up to about 6 magnification. If you try and go any further than that, it's too fuzzy to even see. And so while it is cool to save a buck or two, I hate it when magnification, like what's the point of having a 3-9 by 50 if you can't use really 7, 8, or 9 magnification without it being too unclear to see, and there isn't a finer adjustment knob to be able to really clear that up. So that is number one, is that whenever I get through my certification, I am going to find a little bit better scope that I like, because I love shooting this rifle, but not a big fan of this optic. And so it'll get me through my qualification here in the next week or two, and then from there going to change that. Beyond that, the other thing I wanted to tell you is that it's normally whenever I shoot rifles, I shoot supported, so off of a bench or bipod or something like that. And today I was having to go outside my comfort zone a little bit. And so when I was that first round of unsupported shots, you could see when I had one fly outside the 9 ring, it went over to the 7, which is not going to be what I need for qualification purposes. And originally when I was shooting that way, I was shooting like this. Like obviously instead of having my elbow out, I had it tucked back in, but shooting almost Weaver style, if you will. And what I did the second time around was remembered that if I can twist my body, so twisting my body this way, this brings this elbow in to where it's actually up against my side. And I noticed the crosshairs doing a lot less dancing on the bullseye, if you will, and a lot better grouping that way because everything was a lot tighter. So it removed a lot of the, the user error or the tolerances in terms of how much I was shaking the barrel around. And the other thing I was playing around with was obviously trigger control. So playing around with how much of the first part of my index finger I was using. Not anticipating, I mean, it's a 22, so there's not a lot of recoil to anticipate. However, just gently pulling back on the trigger and letting when the firearm actually pops be a surprise to where that removes any sort of inconsistencies there. And then also my breath control. So I was trying different options. My dad was in the Marine Corps and said that he always learned to take full breath in, let half your breath out, then pull the trigger. I've done some precision shooting courses myself, and at least with pistol, they recommend letting all of your breath out, and that's when you're going to be your most in the most still place. And so I tried both, and I can tell you letting all the breath out of my lungs before I pulled the trigger helped a lot whenever it came to that round going where I wanted it to. And then the last thing I noticed, obviously I had a couple of failure to ejects, in which case had to break out my pocket knife and pull the little 22 rimfire casing out of the barrel. And I think part of that might just be that I need to clean this thing a little bit and then also see what kind of ammo I was using, because towards the end it started happening quite a bit. So seeing if something's going on there, maybe some case swelling or whatnot. But I'm going to start with cleaning my firearm and see if that doesn't help me out. So hope you guys got something out of this video today, and I'll follow back up with you following my NRA rifle instructor certification. But like I said, appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you soon.